What is happening, y'all? We are back at it again with another video.
People that just spend their whole life reading books, posting about it, etc. They never take the jump. Parrots versus practitioners is the best way to learn being a practitioner.
This is widely known in the education space, but not as much in the content world. But there are two types of education. There is procedural and there is declarative. So declarative knowledge is knowing about something. Procedural knowledge is knowing how to do something. So a simple example would be, okay, I understand how private equity works, right? Like that you could talk about it. You can explain how, okay, they take some debt and then they have this arbitrage and they get this enterprise value multiple, whatever. But you've never done a deal. And until you've done a deal, you will not have procedural knowledge of knowing how to actually do a deal. And so you can read 100 books on sales, but you will learn more about actually selling from your first 100 sales calls.
And business is the same.
Yes. And so the idea, in my opinion, for most people is that if you want to rapidly learn, you want to rapidly do those 100 repetitions as fast as you can so that you can suck 100 times in a row and find the 10 that suck the least and then say, how do I suck least on the next 100? And you keep doing that so many times until eventually you suck so little that you're actually good.
What he means by it is leverage means everything. This is what he's talking about. If you don't leverage your content, if you don't leverage your systems, your beliefs, your identity, you will not be able to make volume as much as what you want your leverage to be. So the way I look at this equation is leverage equals volume times mass number of doing it. That's kind of my little equation I thought about within a matter of just thinking about it. I bet you boys can come up with a better clarification of whatever that volume so-called source is, which what he's just implying is volume times, or volume equals mass times consistency, or times content. I would say consistency and content are the same things within business, is what he's implying. So let's continue. We're only a minute in, y'all. We're only a minute in, so this is, I can already tell you that it's gonna be very good, very good.
Hard work.
Yes. And I think, this is actually really interesting because it ladders up to, because there's two types of creators. You've got entertainers and then you have educators. At least that's how I separate it.
Ooh, ho, 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 ho. But blam, we have to get the finger guns on that one. Educators and creators. Whatever your content creation is, whatever your business is meant around, it is either creating or entertaining. One of those two key principles. Which it can be both, or it can be just one thing. Which, whatever that so-called one thing is, you may never know where your life will lead if you do 100 hard decisions and 100 hard tasks, going down the line, doing it, saying you're not going to do it, believing that you are doing it, believing you're doing it for the best of your ability, the best to your innate structure, because we all are structured human beings. We come off of structure. We come off of idealization of sentences to structures to habits to content. So whatever your content is, sorry, music on. Oh, my skip button's not working. Ain't that nice? And whatever it is, knowing that it is the best to your innate ability, doing the things that you can do, versus telling people you're doing these things. By the way, I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at myself right now. Looking at this good looking, handsome young fellow. But yeah, like I always say, you may never know where those hard conversations can lead. You may never know where that hard situationship will lead you to. Relationship, business, everything revolves around connections and compatibility. Without compatibility and connections, you may never know where that relationship will lead you to. And most importantly, you may never know where this thing will lead you to. So do with what you have now, with the time that you have now. Don't waste any of it. Because if you waste time on distractions, on shortcomings, on pitfalls, then you'll be in that hole, your same life over and over and over again until it becomes repetition, repetition, repetition. It's the same cycle. Like, I'm in a alcohol compliance class, and I have to do it because I have a DUI. I hate to admit that online, but Hormozi also has a DUI, and he's making $240 million a year. I know I can do it. I know it's possible. But if nobody clicks on the link for school, or if nobody joins the link, then they may never know what my business opportunity will be like. You may never know until you have those hard conversations down the line. So have those difficult conversations, because if not, other people will be doing the things that you want to do and saying the things that you want to say. Other people will beat you to it. So that's why don't waste your energy on distractions. I'd rather waste my time doing stuff that actually makes me mentally and physically strong, because without the gym and without content, then I'm just a cog in the wheel. I'm just a cog in the wheel of my life, and I never know where my life will lead me to unless if I have those hard conversations. And whatever those so-called conversations are, it could be with a relative, could be with a friend, could be with a girlfriend. I may never know until I have that hard conversation and give them the brutally forced truth trauma of my story, myself, my identity. So as always, let's continue. But I'll let that sink in for a little bit. I'll let that just process in your brain.
The point of entertainment is to maintain the attention of the audience. That is it. So the point of an entertainer is to literally just keep people watching. The point of an educator is to change someone's behavior. And so if you want content to do well in either of these buckets, fundamentally, at least in the education space, you're selling time. So education.
He hit this one hard in my book. So, if you want to be good at anything, content, business, entrepreneurship, anything within business, it will take you countless hours upon countless reps upon countless minutes of your time that is wasted on doing that so-called thing over and over and over again, which now I need to re-listen to this because I totally forgot.
If you want content to do well in either of these buckets, fundamentally, at least in the education space, you're selling time.
Okay, content, business, entrepreneurship, sales. You are selling your time. You're selling your wasted energy within this conversation. This conversation can lead down to a new sale, to a new client, to a new person. You may never know where this conversation will lead until it ends, until it has a median and a middle and an end. And once it has that contextual middle, end, and mean, then you get what you came for, which is wasting your fucking time. If all that we are is time on the cog of the wheel of our lives, then why are we wasting so utter bullshit worth of time, energy, and momentum? Because without time, you are just going to be another cog in the machine, another cog in the wheel of fortune that is waiting to be acted on. And whatever this so-called wheel is, it can impact you, it can reflect you, it can do whatever you want it to. As long as you make it within your own goals, medium, middle, and mean, and end goal. As long as it fits within that category of those categories that I just stated, then you are wasting your time. And through wasting your time, you might never know where this life will lead. You might never know where this next thing will lead to. The new sale, the new client, the new whatever. Whatever it is, it's something new. That's why I created my school, was because I don't think anybody does what I do. And I don't think a lot of people know what I'm truly trying to get out of my school. My school is made for you as a viewer. For you. And that is why I made it so much, was because I know my school. I know my content. I know my cog. Because without the cog in the machine, you are nothing but the time that has been wasted within your life. So as always, let's continue.
So education is, I spent all this time doing this thing to learn these 4 things that I can give to you so that you don't have to spend this time learning it. And so education is actually, if said differently, what you do is you buy time. So when you buy, it's the only way to actually buy time today. So if you want to basically time warp into your future, you have to buy education so that you can buy all of the life experiences from all these people and then not pay for it in your life. You pay for it with less time by consuming what they have, or some money, or some combination of those things.
Less time or some money within the consumption of somebody else's time. See now, if all we are is time, we can do nothing but wait. We can do nothing but take the time for what we have now. Not wasting, not understanding, not believing, not wasting your time because you have such little parts of it where you may never know where this life will lead you to. You may never know until the conversation has happened or the connection has been made. Nothing will happen unless you change. First thing, first rule, change. Without change, you'll get nowhere. Second is zooming out, seeing the bigger picture. We don't zoom out and see the bigger picture, see the hamster on the wheel doing the cog in the machine, then you may never know what that new picture will be. I promise you. You may never know until you have those hard conversations. So have those hard conversations now, because if not, as I always say, you will be forgotten in 3 generations. I love this quote by Chris and Hormozi, because within 3 generations, you will be a great grandfather. Because you have first, kids, second, grandchildren, third, great grandchildren. See, now I got to know my great grandparents. Not for what their full extent of their life was, but I know a good portion of what their life is. And it's the same thing. Like, my great grandma, she knits quilts for people in need. And she has really bad arthritis, which I hope to God I will never have. Because if so, my hands will be uncontrollably shaky. And I don't want that. I would hate to have that. But I got to know my great-grandparents. I got to know both of my great-grandparents on the father's side, but more so on the grandmother's side. I still have one that's still alive. She is 95. She just turned 95 this year. So that's a big number. And then my other one died when she was, I think 97. So they lived very long lives, which is what I'm trying to hope to live up to, is live up to their life. So they had hard lives, very hard lives. I will say that. I will say that again and again, because you may never know what that story will happen to unfold unless if you ask the right questions at the right time. But like I always say, and Hormozi and Chris always say, you will be forgotten in 3 generations. Whatever the generational pain, sorrow, dignity, whatever that pain or whatever the fuck it is, you will be forgotten within 3 generations. You'll just be another picture on the wall, a story waiting to be told, a story waiting to be tailed upon, because you're so afraid of other people's criticism, critiqueness, and of course, uniqueness. You are unique. You're not a carbon copy of somebody else. You may look like them, but you never will be them. And I hate to make this the pitfall of whatever it is I'm making this video on, which I'm only 20 minutes in. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And this video has probably been, I don't even know when I started recording. This could be like a 10-minute video already. And this is just the beginning. This isn't the middle. This isn't the end. This is the fucking beginning of the video. So we are getting real. We are getting deep. But as always, you'll be forgotten in 2 generations, so don't allow your time to be wasted on distraction, on scrolling, on doing nothing. I would rather keep my mind busy than have nothing to even possibly do. And I mean that in the best way. Because without me, without myself, this content would be nowhere. This school would be nowhere. This business would be nowhere without me. See, now when you die, you're just an unmade headstone waiting to be made. Let that sink in for a second. Oh, now I cracked my stuff. Let's go. We're not stopping. We never stop. Because once you stop, you lose a piece of yourself. Let's continue, as always.
And fundamentally, we usually pay with the currency that we value least. And so, interestingly, a rich person values their time more than their money, and so they're willing to pay with money to get time back. A poor person will often pay for their time and drive around to 10 different gas stations to find the one thing that's 10 cents cheaper, or drive to 10 different grocery stores to use whatever coupons. They're valuing their time over their money in that instance. And so,
See, time does not reflect money. That is what he's implying. Time is the only thing that you have. You can work your ass off. You can work your 20s away. You can work your 30s away. Best option, work your 20s away, retire when you're 30. I want to retire when I'm 30. I would love to retire when I'm 30. But that will only happen. That was weird. Oh, it's because my window's open. And you may never know. When you trade time away for money, you lose time. So take a break, take a breather, and stick around. Because temporary relief of temporary problems cause permanent solutions. One of my favorite quotes by Robin Williams. He said that at the end of, I think it was like the Great Year one. It was the president one where he won the presidential election and so on and so forth. But temporary solutions cause permanent damage, is what he's implying. And I hope that quote can sit deep, because it has always set me off and set me in a deeper perspective. Because when you have a solution, there is a problem to that temporary solution. There will be no reflection point unless if you bring yourself to that baseline. And second, put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself in their place. Because if you don't improvise and use your head and improvise a solution, you will stay in that same place over and over and over again. Just think about that. Because that right there, when thinking about it and talking about it, it hits me deep. It hits me really deep. And y'all, we are only 2.5 minutes into this video. And this video has already been, let's see. But like I said, I stopped the video because I looked at it for a 2.75 video that we are in. It has been 20 fucking minutes. 20 minutes. And we're just at the bare minimum. Bare bottom. So as always, let's continue this rat race until we stop this rat race. Like I always say. But as always, let's continue.
So back to the educator, if you want to be certain or have confidence in any endeavor, you have to do so much volume of activity that it would be
Okay. I know he's going to say reasonably to be successful. That's what he's going to say.
unreasonable that you would suck.
Or suck, whatever. Like I said, volume times consistency equals time. The more volume you do, the more time you waste. Time divided by movement. Time divided by progress equals accomplishment right there. Time divided by accomplishment equals volume. Hopefully I'm getting these equations in your head pretty caked in there, because I don't really know what else to say on top of these equations besides volume times squared of the square root of 8, whatever.
And
Yeah.
I think we're gonna go for a walk here soon, so
Okay.
cool. What's that smell?
It's my body odor. Yeah, I gotta take a shower.
It smells like fruit. You have fruit in here?
I had fruit earlier today. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Okay.
if you were to write out the equation of like, okay, how many public speeches would I need to give for it to be unreasonable that I would suck? Is it 10? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Write the number that you're like, there's no way that I would suck after this many. And then all of your effort gets really narrowed, commitment, elimination of alternatives, focus, turn down quality and quantity of other things, to just doing that. And the key part of this is not just to do the 1,000, but after every 10 or every 20, looking at the top 10 or 20% and saying, what did I do well there? And then, because you have to have the feedback loop. Otherwise, it's not just doing 100 reach outs. You have to do 100 reach outs and then look at what worked and then do more of what worked. And so for the parent versus the practitioner component of this, even if you're starting out, you can have confidence in what you're doing because you derived the solution. And you can actually answer why you do something.
Confidence comes from not by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by building a stack of undeniable, whatever that so-called skills are, whatever that so-called confidence is trying to build. It is building it for some certain complexity of mind, some certain undeniable, unteachable, unbelievable factors of what it could be. You never know what it could be until it truly has happened. And after that, you never know what could happen until it truly makes it happen.
So if you cannot explain why you believe what you believe, it's not your belief, it's someone else's. And so most people, I would say, parrot the vast majority of the things that they say because, and to be fair, that's how humans learn. You're 5 years old, you say, what's that? They say bull, and you say bull, you parrot it back, and there we go, right? But when it comes to skills, you can describe what other people have said before, but if something goes wrong, or what about this condition, you won't know what to do. But if you derived it from the ground up, and there's a great portion of this in the Y Combinator community that you, or the Silicon Valley community that you probably heard, is maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. It was like founder mode. Did that get to the UK? Okay.
Yeah. It was from Brian Chesky. I actually messaged him about it after.
Oh yeah, it was like it was awesome, right? And so basically the tenet is that the founder always has special powers in the company because you know what built it. And so that is basically at its core the practitioner versus parrot. The people who came later are parroting why you do what you do. But
Agreed, because you never know what you do until the real person knows what you actually truly did to unlock that certain complexity of mind, or that certain tone of skills, or that certain understanding. You might never know until you truly have those hard conversations. And through those hard conversations, you might never know what will truly happen at the end of the line until it truly happens.
you know what conditions you were in when you made this rule, and also you know how to break it and when to bend those rules. And so if you build something when you built it from those repetitions to distill out the few truths that exist, you'll know why those are the truths. Like, I'll give you a really simple example. So if we've tried to learn YouTube and we've gotten better over time. But in the beginning, I did this massive review and I figured out that the videos that we had that had 3 things at the beginning, proof, promise, plan, was the videos that did the best. And so then all of a sudden we said, okay, all videos have to have proof, promise, plan right at the beginning, the first 30 seconds. Great. So we started doing that for a while. And then we looked at the outliers among those and we were like, oh, well, we also, in some of the ones that did really well, also had some sort of visual picture of this plan. All right, so it became proof, promise, plan, picture. Then we kept looking and we found out over more repetitions that if we also include some sort of pain or problem that's being solved, that also helps. So proof, promise, plan, picture, pain. And so you're like, wait, if you keep adding to this thing, it's going to get really long. No, sometimes you can check multiple boxes with one thing. And this becomes the elegance of creation. Like, how can I check off 3 of these boxes with one sentence, right? And so that is, by the way, for if you're like thinking about this, you're like, do they really think about this when they're making videos? Yes, and that is the difference between a 10,000 view video and a million view video. And it's understanding that level of nuance across the entire thing that creates expertise. And also, when you're like, oh, this video flopped when you're a beginner, you're like, these videos in general don't work or content doesn't work, rather than saying, this video didn't work, and here's why, because we did 3 of the 5. And so it's just like all of the, I mean, the devil is in the details, and you meet the devil himself by doing the unreasonable amount of work, and then it.
What an unreasonable amount of work is for your business, for your opportunity, for your leadership goals, whatever it is, it has a promise and it has waiting to be unread and said and unwavering self-confidence. Because without it all, you may never know where this life will lead you to. You may never know where this next generation will lead you to. And most importantly, you may never know where this next life will take you upon. So, live life to your fullest and do what must be do what must be done. Because if not, you will be wasting your life, wasting your 20s, wasting your identity, just for a simple goal or an action step waiting to be taken on.
It goes from uninformed lack of knowledge to informed optimism, because first you're like, I can make videos and get rich. Then you realize that it's really hard to make videos that people watch. And then finally you start to develop a framework of, this is how I make videos that people watch. And when they don't watch it, it's because I didn't follow it.
Real quick, I'm going to show you the exact 10-stage roadmap from 0 to 100 million plus that less than 1% of companies finish. I've now done multiple times. And so I can say with a lot of confidence that these are the stages as headcount increases that you need to get through. And I broke each of these down by 8 different functions of the business, what the constraint feels like what are the symptoms of it when you're going through it, and then what steps we actually took to graduate. And we've done this across software, physical products, service businesses, brick and mortar.
All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, be yourself and be you. Peace.